Have you ever felt like you don't quite belong here on Earth? Like there's, I don't know, an internal alarm clock just waiting to go off, revealing some hidden truth about who you really are?
It's a really potent feeling, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it resonates deeply with a lot of people, particularly, in our modern world.
Yeah.
And it's exactly that kind of profound sense of personal mystery that sits right at the heart of what we're diving into today.
That's right. Today, our deep dive takes us into a truly fascinating and, well, growing phenomenon, starseed origin activation. This is a central idea, really, within a contemporary spiritual movement that seems to address some pretty fundamental human needs, things like identity, purpose, and maybe even cosmic significance.
Absolutely. And our sources for this deep dive, they come from a pretty comprehensive multidisciplinary analysis.
Okay.
It looks at the starseed concept from within its own New Age belief system.
Okay.
It traces its history, compares it to other spiritual identities, and crucially, it examines its sociological and psychological functions, which is fascinating stuff.
Right. So our mission today, then, is to unpack what starseed origin activation actually means to the people who experience it, where these really intriguing ideas come from, and why they seem to resonate so powerfully right now.
Exactly.
And just to be clear, as always, we're approaching this simply to help you understand its different facets. We're not here to endorse or refute the belief system itself.
Precisely. It's all about understanding the phenomenon, and its appeal. And to really get started, we need to grasp what this activation actually involves for people.
Okay.
It's not described like a traditional religious conversion, adopting a new faith. It's framed quite differently.
How so?
It's presented as this profound, transformative moment of spiritual remembrance.
Remembrance. Huh. So if it's not converting, what is this activation like? Is it sudden or?
Well, the source material describes it almost like an internal alarm clock going off.
Like I mentioned at the start.
Exactly. Where these memories of one's supposedly true extraterrestrial origins suddenly flood back. The core idea is really about recovering an innate, authentic truth.
Not adopting something new.
Not adopting something new, no. It's positioned as uncovering what was already there.
What's fascinating about that is the philosophical connection. It sounds a bit like anamnesis.
That's a great point. The ancient Greek idea that learning is really just remembering knowledge from a past existence.
Yeah.
And this reframing is absolutely key because it kind of bypasses intellectual skepticism, doesn't it? If you feel you're remembering something.
Feels authentic. Personal.
Right. It feels like a discovery, an awakening to something inherent, not a belief you have to argue for or be convinced of. And maybe most powerfully, it validates those lifelong feelings of alienation.
How does it do that?
It reframes them as direct evidence of this forgotten origin. You feel like you don't belong. Well, that's proof you're not originally from here.
Wow. So it completely flips that feeling of not belonging on its head, turns it into a sign of being, well, special. Unique.
Exactly. It transforms it.
Yeah.
And are there other powerful emotional reframings like that within this?
That was my next question.
Absolutely. Some interpretations even push this into a kind of quasi-biological space with the concept of DNA activation.
DNA activation.
Yeah, the idea is that exposure to certain things like specific frequencies, guided meditations, maybe even just verbal cues can supposedly trigger this remembrance physically and even unlock latent abilities.
So it moves beyond just a feeling into something innate, almost biological.
Potentially, yeah. According to the belief system, it makes the transformation feel even more profound, more real.
Okay, so this alarm clock goes off, this activation happens. What's the purpose? Why does this happen according to believers?
Well, for adherents, it's fundamentally about realizing their cosmic mission or their soul mission here on Earth.
Right, the mission.
And this isn't just a personal journey of self-discovery. It's framed as a huge universal calling.
And what is that mission, generally speaking?
It's pretty grand. It's broadly defined as assisting in the planet's spiritual evolution, healing humanity, and helping to bring about this kind of prophesied shift in consciousness towards a golden age.
That's a big responsibility.
It is. And if you connect this to the bigger picture they describe, individuals see their current human life as just one brief moment in a vast soul journey across the cosmos.
So they see themselves as more than just human.
Much more. They perceive themselves as conduits between divine realms and the earth, here with a very specific intention, to serve a higher purpose. And you can see how that provides an immense sense of meaning.
Absolutely. Overwhelming almost. But how does this activation actually happen? Is it always like a sudden bolt from the blue? or more subtle?
The source material suggests it can manifest in really two main ways. It might be a gradual series of realizations dawning over time, or it can be a really sudden, abrupt awakening, a lightning strike moment.
And does anything typically precede it?
Often, yes. It's frequently preceded by that persistent feeling we talked about, not belonging, or a really deep craving for meaning that nothing else seems to satisfy.
And sometimes it's triggered by difficult experiences.
Very often, actually. Common catalysts are significant life events or periods of intense emotional distress, things they might call a dark night of the soul,
Right.
or a mental breakdown, serious heartbreak, near-death experiences, even just hitting an emotional rock bottom.
That's fascinating how crisis gets reframed.
It's crucial. The Starseed narrative takes these personal crises, these traumas, and reframes them as necessary, meaningful catalysts for spiritual growth.
So the suffering isn't pointless.
Exactly. It's seen as the very force needed to kind of break open the human ego, allowing the true cosmic identity to emerge. It literally transforms a story of victimhood into a kind of hero's journey.
So personal pain gets this profound cosmic purpose that's quite a shift. Are there other triggers besides crises, maybe more mystical ones?
Yes, definitely. Other reported triggers are more along those lines, things like vivid dreams of other worlds, or feeling a sudden profound resonance with ancient wisdom tradition.
Okay.
Or maybe encounters with other people who are already awakened, as they'd say. Even just engaging with specific spiritual materials, certain books, guided meditations can apparently act as a catalyst for some.
Right. So we've talked about how this activation happens, the triggers, the purpose. But what are these individuals actually activating into? What is this core identity they're remembering?
Okay, so the core definition of a starseed, according to the sources, is an individual whose soul is believed to have originated on another planet, or maybe another star system, or even another dimension entirely.
Wow.
And crucially, they chose to incarnate on Earth during what's considered a pivotal moment in history.
And this makes them different from, well, other people.
Yes, the belief system distinguishes them quite clearly. They're often described as ancient souls with vast cosmic experiences, setting them apart from what are sometimes called Earth souls.
Earth souls being.
Souls who are believed to reincarnate exclusively on this planet. So starseeds are seen as having a different, perhaps more extensive cosmic lineage and maybe a higher level of spiritual evolution in this view.
Okay, so they come here with a specific job to do. You mentioned the grand mission earlier. Can you remind us what that involves?
Yeah, it's really central. It's reiterated constantly, aiding Earth's and humanity's spiritual evolution, helping to usher in this golden age.
Raising the planet's vibrational frequency, I think the source said.
Exactly, raising the frequency. They often see themselves as light workers, conduits for divine energy, here to assist in Earth's ascension.
You know, what strikes me here is the profound sense of purpose and agency this belief must provide.
Absolutely.
For someone who might feel powerless or insignificant in their everyday life, suddenly their personal healing, their self-improvement, it's elevated.
It becomes cosmically significant. Their mundane struggles, their personal challenges, they get transformed into acts of cosmic service.
Making them crucial to global ascension.
Precisely. It imbues the individual's life with this enormous importance and meaning. It's very powerful.
It really gives a sense of cosmic weight to one's personal journey.
Yeah.
Now, thinking about before this activation, what are these individuals typically like? Are there signs, even before the alarm clock goes off?
Well, the most common, almost defining characteristic mentioned is that pervasive, lifelong feeling of not belonging.
Right, the alienation again.
Yes, a kind of melancholic longing for a home they cannot name. It's a core element. And this feeling, which might otherwise be seen negatively, maybe even clinically.
Yeah, pathologized.
Exactly. It gets powerfully reframed within the Starseed narrative.
So instead of it being a personal issue or a psychological problem, it becomes what?
It becomes a sign of spiritual nobility.
Yeah.
It's transformed into direct evidence of a superior extraterrestrial origin. The logic is you don't fit in because you're literally not from here.
It turns what might be a source of pain into almost a badge of honor.
That's a perfect way to put it, a badge of honor. It provides comfort, validation, and a sense of specialness where there might have been confusion or self-doubt.
Okay, beyond that core feeling of not belonging, what other traits are commonly associated with potential starseeds?
They're often described as highly sensitive people.
HSPs.
Could overlap, yes.
Yeah.
Highly sensitive, empathetic, intuitive. Sometimes feeling overwhelmed by what they perceive as Earth's density or negativity. This heightened sensitivity is sometimes linked to physical or mental health challenges, which get attributed to their souls being sort of unaccustomed to the limitations of a human body.
Interesting explanation. Anything else?
Other common traits include a natural attraction to spirituality or metaphysics from a young age, a deep fascination with the cosmos, astronomy, science fiction, ancient civilizations.
Makes sense.
And sometimes even reports of psychic abilities or unusual experiences throughout their lives.
This whole concept, it feels very contemporary, doesn't it? Especially with the cosmic themes, the focus on energy and vibration. But is it entirely new? Or are there historical threads leading up to it? Where did these ideas actually come from?
That's a really important question, because while it's definitely gained a lot of traction in the digital age, online communities and all that, its conceptual framework actually has deeper roots. But the modern popularization, and actually coining the terms star people and later starseeds, that's largely credited to one author.
Oh yeah. Who was that?
A paranormal author named Brad Steiger in his 1976 book, Gods of Aquarius.
Gods of Aquarius, okay. And his original idea, was it the same as how people talk about starseeds today?
Not quite, actually. His original definition was a bit different. He described star people as humans who come from a special gene pool linked to visits by extraterrestrials.
So more biological, like actual genetic heritage.
Exactly, more quasi-biological view, rather than today's primary focus on the soul's origin. And his work was very much situated within the contactee subculture of ufology at the time.
The contactees? Those are the people claiming friendly contact with benevolent space brothers, right?
That's the one, believing UFO occupants were here to guide humanity. Steiger's book was pretty speculative, claiming this superior power was guiding human transformation. And, predictably perhaps, critics at the time saw it as part of what they called a rising tide of irrationalism and anti-science.
Okay, so Steiger plants the seed, so to speak, in 76.
Yeah.
But how did it grow from a book concept into the more organized movement or identity we see now?
Well, a key figure in that evolution seems to be Sheldon Neidl. He founded something called the Planetary Activation Organization, or PAO.
PAO, okay.
And he really built a more structured belief system around the starseed identity. Neidl himself claimed to be a starseed from Sirius and said he was channeling messages from a galactic federation of extraterrestrials.
Galactic Federation. Sounds familiar from sci-fi. And what was notable about Neidl and the PAO?
Well, one significant aspect was a series of repeated, but ultimately failed, prophecies, particularly in the 1990s.
Failed prophecies? Like what?
Things like predicting imminent mass UFO landings and major planetary transformations that were supposed to happen on specific dates, but then didn't.
Oof. That could be pretty damaging to a movement's credibility, couldn't it? How did they navigate that?
It's actually a fascinating case study in how these kinds of movements adapt. The narrative shifted.
How so?
Well, blame was often redirected maybe to unseen dark forces hindering the events, or the focus moves away from specific dates towards this idea of the right divine time.
Making it less falsifiable.
Exactly. And crucially, responsibility was partly shifted onto the believers themselves. Salvation became framed as a kind of two-way street, dependent on their collective spiritual progress and readiness.
Interesting. So the followers had to work harder, essentially.
In a way, yes. It's a classic pattern seen in millennial movements throughout history. Failed prophecy often doesn't lead to disillusionment, but rather to a spiritualization of the goal and an intensification of commitment among the core followers.
Right. So the idea isn't just a 70s invention or a 90s movement thing. You mentioned deeper roots earlier. How far back are we talking?
We can actually trace conceptual threads back quite a bit further into 19th and 20th century esotericism, particularly theosophy.
Theosophy, Blavatsky and all that.
Exactly. And maybe even more directly influential later on was Alice A. Bailey, a very prominent theosophist who claimed to channel messages from a master known as the Tibetan.
Right, I've heard of her. She wrote tons of books.
She did. And she wrote extensively about a spiritual hierarchy of beings, masters of the ancient wisdom, or ascended masters who are believed to guide human evolution from behind the scenes.
And she had this whole complex cosmology, didn't she, with the 7 rays and the coming age of Aquarius. I can see how that might set the stage.
Absolutely. Her ideas about highly evolved souls incarnating specifically to assist humanity during crucial periods, that's a really clear precursor to the Starseed mission concept.
So the Starseed idea is kind of like taking those theosophical concepts and giving them a sci-fi update.
That's a brilliant way to put it. It's very much a sci-fiization of those older esoteric ideas. The mystical, often unseen masters get replaced by more tangible-seeming extraterrestrials from specific star systems like Sirius or the Pleiades.
And the spiritual hierarchy becomes the Galactic Federation.
Precisely. It makes the complex esotericism perhaps a bit more accessible, more visually imaginable, maybe more palatable for a modern audience raised on science fiction tropes.
Yeah, a sort of sci-fi gloss on ancient wisdom or esoteric thought. Makes sense.
And within this framework, there's even a quite detailed galactic pantheon, you could say, a whole typology of different starseed origins.
Oh, okay.
Apparently, identifying your specific star origin is a really key part of the journey after activation. People pursue this through meditation, channeling, maybe working with psychics.
It sounds almost like a cosmic personality quiz. What's really interesting about this galactic pantheon is how it provides these very specific, often quite flattering, archetypal identities within the larger story.
It definitely functions as a unique kind of spiritual typology.
Yeah, a cosmic personality profile is a good way to think about it. Should we look at some of the major types mentioned in the source?
Yeah, let's do that. What are some of the main ones?
Okay, well, first up, you often hear about Pleiadian starseeds, said to be from the Pleiades star cluster.
Right.
They're generally described as very gentle, nurturing souls. Their core mission is seen as healing, spreading love, and raising consciousness on Earth.
And their traits?
Highly sensitive, very empathetic. But the potential challenges mentioned are things like maybe people-pleasing or having difficulty with conflict avoidance.
Okay, gentle healers. What about those from Sirius, the Sirian starseeds?
Ah, Sirius. These souls are often associated with ancient wisdom, sometimes linked to mythical civilizations like Atlantis or ancient Egypt, where Sirius was important astronomically.
They're generally seen as calm, focused, very spiritually driven. Their mission is often about bringing harmony and divine love. Challenges, maybe difficulty expressing deep emotions, sometimes appearing a bit serious or detached.
Right. Then there are the Arcturian starseeds from Arcturus. What's their profile?
Arcturians are typically framed as highly advanced, often intellectual souls. They're sometimes viewed as natural leaders, teachers, maybe even builders or architects of the new age.
And their mission?
Often involves being spiritual shamans, kind of grounding higher vibrational energies onto Earth. Traits include being intellectual, having strong memories, but also maybe being highly sensitive to sensory input, lights, sounds, crowds.
Okay. And Andromedans from the Andromeda Galaxy. That's ambitious.
Yeah. Andromedan starseeds are said to really value freedom, peace, and self-expression above all else. They're often described as benevolent, maybe a bit unconventional, with a drive to empower the disenfranchised or challenge restrictive systems.
And their characteristics.
Typically a strong desire to travel, explore, experience novelty. They instinctively resist confinement or rigid structures, apparently.
Okay, one more major one mentioned is Orion. Orion starseeds.
Right, Orion. These are often framed a bit differently, sometimes as warriors of light, not necessarily aggressive, but passionate, driven.
From the Orion constellation associated with the hunter mythologically.
Exactly. They often have a strong sense of purpose, described as both passionate and logical. Their mission might involve inspiring others, bringing compassion into areas of conflict, or transforming struggle into strength. Challenges could include being quite intense, maybe prone to internal conflict, or having trust issues initially.
Wow, it's quite a detailed system. It really provides a whole cosmic backstory and personality type. Now, thinking bigger picture, within the, let's say, the broader New Age spiritual spectrum, how do starseeds fit in with other identities we often hear about, like lightworkers or indigo and crystal children? People sometimes use these terms interchangeably, don't they?
They do, yeah, and it can get confusing. But our source material actually makes some helpful distinctions between them. It's mostly about what defines the identity.
Okay, so how does it break down what defines a starseed fundamentally?
Fundamentally, starseed is defined by origin. The core identity comes from having an extraterrestrial soul that chose to incarnate on Earth. Their mission flows from that specific heritage.
Okay, origin. And a lightworker then. What's the defining feature there?
Lightworker is defined primarily by mission. It's a more functional term. It refers to any soul, whether they believe they're originally from Earth or from the stars, whose core purpose is to spread light, healing, and raise consciousness.
So a starseed is almost always considered a lightworker because of their mission?
Exactly.
But not all lightworkers necessarily identify as starseeds. They might just feel called to that work without the ET origin story?
Precisely. Lightworker is about the job they feel they're here to do, not necessarily where their soul came from originally. It's functional, not ontological, as the source puts it.
Got it. And what about the children types? Indigo, crystal, sometimes rainbow children.
Right. These identities, indigo, crystal, rainbow children, they're defined primarily by their generational waves and their supposed vibrational frequency.
Generational wave.
Yeah. So indigos, typically associated with births from roughly the 1960s to the 1990s, are seen as the system busters, here to challenge and dismantle old, outdated paradigms.
Okay.
Crystal children, then, associated more with the 90s to around the 2010s, are seen as peacekeepers, bringing in higher frequencies of love and harmony. Rainbow children are sometimes seen as the next wave after that.
So these are more like rolled or vibrational signatures associated with birth eras rather than soul origin?
Exactly. A soul could theoretically be an indigo child and a starseed, or just an indigo child with an earth soul origin. It's about the role they play within a specific generation's spiritual purpose. So you've got origin, starseed, mission, lightworker, or generational role vibration, indigo, crystal, rainbow.
That clears things up a lot, actually. Thanks. Now, another comparison point. How does something like starseed origin activation differ from, say, a Kundalini awakening? Both sound like incredibly profound spiritual awakening experiences.
They do, but they are described very differently in terms of their nature and focus, drawing on quite distinct traditions.
How so? What's the essence of a Kundalini awakening?
Okay, so a Kundalini awakening, drawing from Eastern mystical traditions like yoga and tantra, is generally understood as an imminent psychophysical process.
Imminent, meaning within the body.
Exactly. It involves the awakening of dormant spiritual energy, conceptualized as coiled at the base of the spine, which then ascends up through the body's energy centers, the chakras.
And it's quite physical, right? People report intense sensations.
Very much so. It's often accompanied by intense physical sensations, energetic phenomena, spontaneous movements, altered states of consciousness. It's profoundly embodied and internal. The goal is typically enlightenment, liberation, or self-realization within the human experience. It emphasizes a disciplined process of purification and self-mastery, often over years.
Okay, very internal, embodied, process-oriented. How does starseed activation compare?
Well, in contrast, starseed activation is presented more as a transcendent, primarily cognitive spiritual process.
Transcendent, meaning pointing beyond the self.
Pointing beyond the human self, yes. Its core focus is on remembering an external extraterrestrial origin and a cosmic mission. The identity fundamentally predates and transcends the current human body, which is often seen more as a temporary vehicle or tool for the mission.
So less focus on the body itself, more on the mind and spirit remembering.
Generally, yes. The goal isn't so much enlightenment within this human life, but more about remembering who you are in order to carry out the mission in the world, transforming collective consciousness, aiding planetary ascension.
So if Kundalini emphasizes a potentially long, arduous process to achieve an enlightened state, starseed activation seems to emphasize adopting an identity first, with the spiritual process then following from that realization of who you are and why you're here.
That's a really sharp way to capture the difference, yes. The Starseed model, you could argue, offers a more immediate sense of identity and meaning. You remember who you are, and then you figure out how to live that out. It's arguably more accessible, maybe better suited to the narrative-driven nature of digital culture than the often demanding path of traditional mysticism.
That's a really fascinating distinction and approach. Okay, so stepping back now, trying to look at this from an external, maybe academic perspective.
Yeah.
How do we understand the widespread appeal of all this? Why does it resonate so much?
Well, from a psychological viewpoint, several factors and, frankly, cognitive biases likely contribute to why the Starseed identity feels so valid and compelling to people.
Like what?
One classic factor is the Forer effect, sometimes called the Barnum effect.
The we have something for everyone effect.
Pretty much. The common characteristics attributed to starseeds, feeling alienated, searching for meaning, being highly sensitive, these are often quite vague traits.
Things a lot of people feel at some point.
Exactly. They're common enough that many people can see themselves reflected in the description. And this makes the identity feel uniquely accurate, deeply personal, like, wow, this is me, even though it could apply to many.
Right, like reading a horoscope that seems uncannily specific but is actually quite general. It makes you wonder how many belief systems tap into that same psychological principle.
It's a powerful effect.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, there are other cognitive biases that might be at play. For example, something called a source monitoring error.
Okay, what's that?
It's basically an unconscious memory glitch. Someone might encounter ideas about starseeds, maybe read books or articles, browse online forums, and later mistake those externally acquired ideas for authentic personal memories. They might genuinely feel like they're remembering past lives on other planets when actually they're recalling information they absorbed elsewhere without realizing its source. This can be more common in people who are naturally more fantasy-prone.
Interesting. Misattributing the source of a memory. What about ontological confusion? That sounds complex.
It basically refers to difficulty in distinguishing between what's meant metaphorically and what's meant literally.
Okay.
So someone might encounter these grand cosmic narratives and struggle to separate the symbolic meaning from a concrete, literal reality, leading them to accept quite fantastical concepts as factual. And some research also points to links between certain personality traits, like schizotypy, which involves unusual thoughts and perceptual experiences, and a stronger belief in paranormal phenomena generally.
Right.
The Starseed narrative, with its themes of hidden knowledge, secret missions, and uniquely enlightened individuals, could potentially hold a particular appeal for people with those predispositions.
Okay, so it taps into some existing psychological frameworks and potential biases. Beyond the individual mind, though, what about the sociological functions? Why does this resonate within communities? How does it work on a larger social scale?
Well, it clearly serves several really important functions for people in contemporary society. Firstly, and perhaps most obviously, it provides compelling answers to those huge existential questions. Why am I here? What's my purpose?
Especially for people feeling disconnected.
Exactly. Especially for those who might feel adrift or disconnected from mainstream society or traditional sources of meaning like religion or even career, it offers a powerful narrative of purpose.
And for those who felt that lifelong alienation we keep coming back to, it offers something else crucial, doesn't it?
Belonging. Absolutely. The Starseed identity provides an immediate entry point into a global community, often thriving online, of people who share these feelings and beliefs.
Finding your tribe.
Finding your tribe, exactly. It offers the very validation and sense of belonging that they might have felt was missing their entire lives. It says, you're not weird, you're not broken, you're one of us.
And it often seems to incorporate a critique of mainstream society or institutions, too.
It does, yes. The belief system frequently includes, implicitly or explicitly, a critique of mainstream science, politics, medicine, social institutions. You name it.
Why is that significant?
Well, it resonates strongly with a growing cultural current of distrust towards conventional authority and expertise. It offers an alternative framework for understanding the world and its problems. Our source material even briefly mentions the case of Jacob Chansley.
The QAnon shaman.
Right, as an example of a potential intersection between these kinds of New Age spiritual beliefs and conspiracy theories. Now, it's really important to stress, the source is clear. This is not universal across all Starseed adherents by any means. But it does highlight how these alternative frameworks, this deep skepticism of the mainstream, can sometimes converge, offering individuals a comprehensive counter-narrative to dominant societal explanations.
Understood. So, wow. We've covered a lot of ground here. We've navigated this really comprehensive deep dive into the Starseed phenomenon, all the way from activation as this profound spiritual remembrance to its incredibly detailed cosmology and typologies, its fascinating layered historical evolution, and right through to these deep psychological and sociological functions it seems to serve.
Yeah, it's quite a journey through this belief system.
Yeah.
And we really hope this exploration has helped you, listening, to understand what's clearly a growing and significant cultural phenomenon, one that reflects some of humanity's most fundamental, enduring needs for meaning, for connection, for identity.
You know, what's truly captivating for me, stepping back, is how the Starseed phenomenon, with its whole blend of extraterrestrial origins, cosmic missions, secret knowledge, you can almost see it as a powerful modern rearticulation of ancient Gnosticism in a way. That search for hidden truth beyond the material world.
A fascinating parallel. And ultimately, I think it highlights this enduring human quest, maybe especially strong today, to sort of re-enchant what can feel like a very secular, disenchanted world.
Yeah.
To find profound personal meaning, even magic, within a universe that science has mapped so thoroughly. And maybe ultimately, it's all part of trying to answer that deepest, oldest question.
Yeah.
What is our true place in the cosmos?